Hey, Jason here. In this episode of Value Investing in Your Car, I'm going to talk about, give a little mini book review of a fantastic book I just finished, fantastic audiobook I just finished, of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall Autobiography. I believe the title is Total Recall, My Unbelievably True Life Story, or something like that. Fantastic book. I typically don't like autobiographies, mainly because if the person's writing about themselves, they don't include the bad stuff. I like to see the bad and the good because, frankly, because not everybody's all perfectly good, and that's why most of the time I don't like autobiographies. I like biographies. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I knew going in, I wanted to read the book for a while, and the kind of thing that pushed me over the edge to want to read it was, or to listen to it in this case, was Tim Ferriss highly recommended that autobiography. And the reason I wanted to read it initially was because growing up, I'm considered a 90s kid. I was born in 86. I'm 31 years old. Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 90s was everywhere. He was in major hit movies. I think at the time I know at the time he was the biggest movie star in the entire world, making somewhere like $20-30 million a movie. He was in the fitness arena, of course, back in the day with his bodybuilding career. And then when I was in school, he was a big, I didn't know this until listening to the book, he was a big factor in President Bush #1 George H.W. Bush, President Bush 41, United States. He was his fitness czar, and he helped bring back the Presidential Physical Fitness Awards, which were huge when I was in school, to encourage fitness and all that kind of stuff. And I remember doing his, I don't remember what it was called, but his fitness videos in gym class, where he's trying to get kids to become fit, and down, up, those kind of videos. And so I wanted to read the book just because he was a huge, pretty much an icon from my generation. Pretty much anybody in my generation knows who Arnold Schwarzenegger is. He was this huge movie star, fitness guy, helping bring fitness to kids and all that, and helping, there was a ton of information. And the thing that kind of pushed me over when I heard Tim Ferriss say that he's a huge entrepreneur as well, which I didn't know until listening. I think it was an interview Tim Ferriss did on his blog, or on his what's his vlog called? The Tim Ferriss Show, or Tim Ferriss Experiment, something like that. He was interviewing Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they were getting into the book a little bit, and Tim Ferriss asked him a question, something along the lines of, most people don't know you were a millionaire before you started making movies, because you were an entrepreneur and real estate investor. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's kind of the main reason, even though I wanted to for a while, that's kind of the main push on why I wanted to get into reading or listening to the book. It's a fantastic book. Highly recommend. Goes from his entire life story, him being born during, I think he was, his dad was a World War II Army soldier in Austria, or some kind of soldier in Austria for the Nazis, or for the Nazi Party, I guess, not necessarily the Nazis, but for the German Third Reich, whatever. I don't know what the proper term is anymore. He was born in Austria during, I believe it was World War II. And it goes from his life story, from his childhood with his parents and his brother in Austria, in a small country town, from all the way to his mistakes, or up to his movies, becoming a presidential financial fitness czar, mega movie star, millionaire through his real estate investments. And I actually did some research on this after I finished the book. His real estate portfolio is estimated to be worth $400+ million. So that kind of shows you the scale of how great of a real estate investor he is, if he has a portfolio that's worth north of $400 million. So it goes from there. He started Planet Hollywood, which I didn't know, which was huge when I was a kid. He just listening to some of him talk about some of his friends, and Andy Warhol, Eddie Murphy, Danny DeVito, Robin Williams, Oprah, all of his friends he had from not only the movie business, but from LA and Hollywood and real estate investing. It's a cast of characters from my childhood. So I think that from an entertainment standpoint, the book is fantastic. From an information standpoint and kind of a business book standpoint, it's also phenomenal. Again, he was a real estate investor. He was multimillionaire before he got into acting at all, which gave him options. He didn't make too much money from his bodybuilding career, but he always thought bigger. He thought he didn't want to just become the best bodybuilder ever. He wanted to expand the entire sport of bodybuilding. He built platforms off of bodybuilding. He built federations, programs, events. He was partners in a bunch of those. And again, he helped bring fitness to kids all over the United States. I don't know if all over the world, if those kids all over the world got those same kind of programs, but in the United States, again, not only from his movies, but from a fitness perspective, he was a huge part of that as me growing up as a kid. Then it goes, he comes to the United States. I think he was around his 20s, early 20s, when he came to the United States with, I think he said, it was either $4 or $400, and nowhere to stay. He didn't know anybody, and that was it. He made the trip from Austria because he wanted to become a movie star. He wanted to become rich and wealthy, and he felt the United States was the best place in the world to do that. And some of his mentors, Reg Parker, and some of his other mentors were big in the United States in the movies, and that's where he thought he needed to go to become a giant movie star. So he goes from his childhood all the way up to the United States, and then he starts the money he does make from his various business ventures. He was a bricklayer. He started a bricklaying company or construction company with one of his buddies, his fitness buddies, his bodybuilding buddies. That took off. He started a mail order business to promote not only his techniques on working out, because he was Mr. Olympia, I think he said five or seven times. Either way, it was a record at the time. I don't know if it's still a record. I don't know anything about bodybuilding, but so people would email him or mail him for his fitness tips, and he built a business out of that. So he built, before he even became a movie star, he was already wealthy, not only off of real estate, but from his other businesses, which gave him capital to invest in real estate. And then he became even wealthier once he was able to invest in real estate. So the business lessons from this book, getting kind of back to the entertainment aspect, was fantastic. The information from kind of my perspective, and probably your perspective from a business perspective, is fantastic as well. And again, before listening to Tim Ferriss's podcast or vlog or whatever it was, I didn't know that about Arnold Schwarzenegger. I thought he was just super rich from making $20-30 million a movie at his peak. So that was very interesting. Then it goes on to him becoming, getting into the movie business, meeting Maria Shriver and marrying into the Kennedy families, becoming the governor of California, and even and like I talked about, I usually don't like autobiographies because people don't like to talk about their mistakes and their flaws and all that. He's very open throughout the book about his flaws, and he has an entire chapter, I believe it's the last chapter, the second to last chapter, where he talks about him cheating on his wife and him fathering a child out of wedlock and then not knowing for years about that child. It's an incredibly fascinating book. Again, I'm probably biased because I grew up with him as pretty much a movie icon and fitness icon from my childhood. But from an entertainment perspective and a business perspective, it's an amazing book. Long read. I will warn you, because a lot of people don't like to read long books. I don't know page-wise how long it is, but it was a 22-plus hour listen on Audible audiobooks. I don't know what that is kind of equivalent to, but most books I listen to are in the 8 to 10 hour range, so I'm assuming those are 250 to 350 page books. So this is a long book, well worth it. Again, fantastic entertainment, fantastic information, fantastic leadership information, especially when he gets to be governor, learning from mistakes, learning how to spot entrepreneurial opportunities, and business opportunities. Fantastic book, pretty much all the way around. I highly recommend it. And I just wanted to share that quick mini book review. Again, the book is Arnold Schwarzenegger's biography, Total Recall, My Unbelievably True Life Story, or something along those lines, I think is what the full title is. Fantastic book, highly recommend. I listened to it on Audible. He narrated, I believe it was the prologue and introduction, and the last chapter, the second to last chapter of the book. And yeah, it was fantastic. Again, highly recommend it. And not only as kind of an entertainer's book, but also as a business book. It's fantastic as well. So, learned a ton from it, and actually made me think about some of the, not necessarily the problems, but the thought processes and things I could improve on myself and kind of going along. So I try to look for little nuggets in any book that I listen to or read about how to improve. But again, there was lessons throughout this entire book, so I highly recommend it. Even if you're somewhat interested in Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you're interested in business, and if you're interested in the entertainment world, whatever you're interested in, I highly recommend it. Or if you're a 90s kid like me, again, I'm biased because he was an icon. Highly recommend pretty much anybody read it, because in the United States, I don't know if he's still big worldwide, but in the United States, he's not putting out movies like he used to, but he's still well known in the United States, and pretty much everybody knows him. So I think you'd enjoy the book, pretty much no matter what. Again, highly recommend it. I listened to it on Audible, which is Amazon's audiobook platform. And I hope if you read the book or listen to it, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it, or if you have read it, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Subscribe, like, love, share, all this, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.